Alright guys, back at the lake. First hand I look down at King 9-5, double suited in the cutoff in a straddled pot. There are two limpers. The hijack to my right makes it 60. I call, and there are four other callers, so we're going 6 ways to a flop. Flop comes out Jack 7-7 rainbow. Checks over to the original raiser, who only has about $240 left, and he bets 120 instead of putting it all in the middle, which I thought was pretty suspicious in the moment. And here, with all these players behind me, I think it's a pretty easy fold. It's going to be pretty likely that at least one of my opponents here has a 7. So I fold, and there's two other callers. So they end up going 3 ways to a turn, which brings a 3. Then the original raiser puts his remaining 120 in the middle, and they all call. And River brought another 3, and the original raiser turns over his hand. He has ace, queen, jack, jack, so he's going to take it down with jacks full. Very next hand, I look down at another King 9-5 double suited, this time in the hijack. Guy on my right makes it 10. I make it 40. There are two callers over to the big blind, who makes it 210. Folds back to me, and here I decide to fold. This player, although he is pretty loose, I don't really think he's going to do this without a hand that beats me. So I fold, and there are two other callers. Two of the players ended up getting all the money in. The board ran out King Jack 3, 5, 7, and my opponent did have aces with ace, ace, 5, 3, and he's going to take it down. Unfortunate that I would have won here, but happy I made the right fold pre-flop. And just for context here, the guy to my left is probably the loosest player I've ever played against in my entire life. If you've ever played in this game, you probably know who I'm talking about, but as a result of this player being to my left, I do play a little bit more passive in this session than I typically do. Here, look down at ace 10, 9, 6, double suited on the button in a straddled pot. There's one limper to me. I also limp. Small blind makes it 55 total. There are two callers to me, and I make the call. So we're going 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes ace jack 10 with two clubs. Original raiser bets 150. Folds over to me, and I make the fold here as well. So he's going to take it down. Here, look down at ace jack 7-4 double suited in early position in a straddled pot. Player to my right makes it 20, and I make the call here. Probably could be slightly too loose here. It is nice having two suits, but there's definitely a lot of gaps in this hand, especially in early position. But I've been card dead for a little bit. I make the call. Player to my left, who I mentioned earlier, is very aggressive. He plays probably 95% of hands. He makes it 100. There are two callers to me, and I decide to make the call. So we're going 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes Jack 10-5 with two diamonds. When it checks to me, pretty easy decision here with the SPR under 1. I push, folds back to the player to my right, and he makes the call. So we're going heads up to a run out. Turn brings in the front door flush with an 8 of diamonds. River brings another 8. So obviously didn't want to see the board pair, but I turn over my hand and my opponent mucks. So we end up taking it down. Here, look down at ace king 7, single suited in middle position. Player to my right makes it 15. I call. Then player to my left makes it 70. There are two callers back to me. So I know the GTO play says to go ahead and repop it here, but the simple fact is the player to my left is never folding, so I'm going to have to play out of position with the hand that really doesn't have great playability. The 7 obviously doesn't really do much for my hand. I can only make one straight, only single suited. But, if I did have, say, like ace king jack or ace king 10, more connected, probably go ahead and repop it, but I elect to just call, and we're going 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes ace jack 9 with two diamonds. The original raiser to my right bets 225, and I fold. Here, look down at ace 8-3, single suited in early position in a straddled pot. Player to my right limps over to me. But while I believe playing GTO is great, I believe the best way to win the most money is to adjust your play based on the game you're in. So I had mentioned that the player to my left is extremely loose. So obviously with aces, you're always pretty much supposed to raise pre-flop. But here, I decide to limp with the intention of going for the back, huge raise in order to, trim down the field here. So I limp. Player to my left makes it 50. There's one caller. Then the button makes it 105, back over to me. So I stick to the plan and make it 465. Player to my left rejams, folds over to the button who calls for less, and I of course make the call as well. So we're going 3 ways to a run out. Flop comes Jack 7-2 rainbow. Turn brings another 2, which is the 2 of hearts, bringing in the backdoor flush. River does bring in the backdoor flush, but it doesn't matter because it's the ace of hearts, and I turn over my hand, and both my opponents muck, so we're taking it down here. Here, look down at ace jack 8-7, single suited in early position. I limp. There are 2 limpers behind. Button makes it 30. 2 callers to me, I call, and 2 callers behind. So we're going 6 ways to a flop. Flop comes 9-7-6 with 2 spades. Checks over to me, I check. Checks all the way to the original raiser who bets 180. Folds over to the player to my right who calls, over to me. So I thought about my decision here for a little bit. A couple things of note I was thinking about is this flop shouldn't really hit the original raiser's range that often. 2, this player to my right that just called here, kind of an interesting call. He definitely could have a very similar hand to mine, like combo draw, maybe even like a set. But, there's definitely some hands I can put some pressure on him by potting it here. So that's what I decided to do. The original raiser only has about 600, so he calls. And the player to my right has a little bit over 1200. He puts it all in the middle. And I, of course, make the call. So we're going 3 ways to a run out. Turn looks to be a pretty good card in the ace of hearts, giving us some additional equity. River brings in the backdoor flush in a 5 of hearts, which improves us to a straight. And I turn over my hand, and the original raiser turns over his. He has king 10-8 with 2 hearts, and player to my right has queen 10-8. So unfortunately for me, they both flopped the nut straight, and I couldn't improve. So they're gonna both take it down. A couple hands later, I look down at 8-7-7-6 rainbow in the big blind. Early position player min raises to $10. There are 3 callers to me, and I call. So we're going 5 ways to a flop. Flop comes queen jack 7 with 2 spades. Checks to me, I check. Checks over to the original raiser who bets 50. 2 callers to me, and here I just decided to call. Bottom set is really tricky as you're either completely crushed or you're basically flipping. So I just decided to call to see what the turn brings. Turn brings a 4 of diamonds, bringing in the backdoor flush draw. Also gives us a gut shot to go along with our set. Checks to me, and here I got to start charging people for draws. I should be ahead, so I bet 225, and we get 2 callers. So we're going 3 ways to a river. River brings a 3, so brings in a straight, but shouldn't really change anything. I decide to check instead of trying to get thin value with the intention of calling any bet. And both my opponents check back. So I turn over my hand and we're good. So taking it down here. Shortly after that set of 7s hand, a couple of the action players had left, which made the game not quite as good. So I decided to rack up after playing for about 4.5 hours.
What's up, guys? Wayne back here with you. So today I was in for 600, out for 1295, so profit of 695. Played for just about 5 hours. Couldn't play a ton of hands. Had super aggro to my left, so as a result tightened up a little bit. But if you haven't seen my previous video, I'll link it up above, and I'll talk to you guys later. Take care.